Good afternoon. How are you diddling? An unusual day for me to be alive. Thank you very much to join us. For me to be alive, not for me to be live. Thank you very much for joining me. It's another episode of Dazed and Confused, your 3 times a week live show where I answer your social media, your video questions, and try and help get you on that content creation journey. I'm Simon Scholes. I'm the founder and creative director of Perception Studios. We're an award-winning visual marketing agency, and we help brands and businesses create content that helps them stand out on social media, specifically trying to help mindset and life coaches take their brand to the next level, creating content for free, essentially. Because as an agency, we were creating content for brands and businesses that were video, that were animation, all this great stuff. But we found and realized that not every brand, not every business has that budget necessarily to have content created on a consistent basis. But that's what social media is all about: being consistent, having regular content going out there, having regular value given to your audience. So how could I help people with that? So I sat down, I came up with a process. I called it How to 9 Times Your Social Media, turned it into a book, which you can still get hold of now. It's available on Amazon for like 99p. And it takes you through everything from planning all the way through to podcasting and the stuff that happens in between as well. But what I want to try and do is help you with these live videos, answering your questions, just get you into that content creation process. Start making stuff for your brand, for your business, that helps you take your brand just up a notch, even if it's just a little bit, just doing a little step. That little step, if you keep doing lots of little steps, they eventually become one big, huge step, which brings your brand out flourishing, hopefully. Good morning to Adrian, who's joined us this morning. Whatever platform you're on today, make sure you say hello, whether it's Twitch, it's Periscope, it's Twitter, YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook. Wherever you're watching, say hello on that platform. It will come up on my screen, and you can ask any questions you like as well. But the main thing I want to talk to you today about is the fact that it is information overload day. Oh, we are so overloaded with information on a regular basis. You pop onto social media, you pick up your phone, and you're scrolling through, and not only have you got all your mates telling you things and putting stuff onto their feeds, you've also got loads of brands and businesses doing the same thing. Then you've got brands and businesses doing sponsored and promotional stuff. So you end up with this cannibalized stream of lots and lots of stuff. And as a brand and as a business, you sit there and you go, what is the point in me using social media? I'm probably never going to get seen, because I've said it once, I'll say it again. Social media is a little bit like a room full of people shouting. But the question is how creative is your shouting? Do you really necessarily need to actually shout on social media to actually be heard? What about if you just stop people in their tracks? So rather than trying to shout louder and saying how much better your product is than everybody else's, what about the value you could give? How could you portray that value? Could it be done with photographs? Could it be done with video? All those kind of things are stuff that you need to think about when it comes to social media content. So you've planned your content, but when you come into creating it, how creative are you going to get? Have you sat down and really thought about it? Have you looked at what other people in your industry are actually doing that makes you want to stop and look at their stuff? I was chatting to somebody this morning about their brand, and they're launching a kind of a new brand, and we're looking at some of the stuff that their high-end competitors are doing, and they're wanting to compete with them, but on a lower price model. So how are they going to stand out against that really high luxurious marketplace, but on a lower price model? So we had to come up with some creative ideas. And so you need to sit down and think creatively about your brand and business. It's not necessarily just about making some content because you've been told to have a video, because you've been told to do X, Y, or Z. You've got to think creatively about how you're going to approach this stuff, rather than just, like I say, doing a live video because you've been told to do a live video. There's lovely organic stuff you can do, but when it comes to putting that value out, maybe showcasing a particular product you actually sell, that's where you need to start thinking creatively. What could you create? Who could you necessarily hire in sometimes? But what could you create yourself? Could you buy simple things like a light box, which will showcase your product a little bit better? Could you create very simple videos? Could you create videos that don't necessarily need to have you on them? So you don't need to be filming yourself like I am right now. You could create a content that is showing the product and then do a voiceover for it yourself so that people get to understand what the product's for. There's all sorts of different things that you can do, but you need to sit down and understand who your audience is. If you don't know who your avatar is, then you can't create content for them. But once you understand who your avatar is, like this client I was speaking to this morning, they understand 100% who their avatar is, then you can create content specifically for them, and you can decide whether it's worth spending money and getting somebody coming in to do that content for you because you'll get a good return on investment, or do you want to use your phone and some simple lighting and get some basic content created before you start hiring in the teams to help you create it? But you've got to remember, you need to know who your avatar is so that you can create content specifically for them so you know where they're hanging out. But also, you don't want to be shouting just like everybody else is. Don't start selling. Show that value, show that product, show the luxury, show the pain point that you are going to fix with your product. Whether your product is makeup, whether your product is clothing, whether your product is phones, there is a level of pain that the person you are trying to sell to will have because they need to have that product. You're going walking, you're going on a walking holiday, for example. What do you need? You need hiking boots. Do you want to spend £20 on a pair of hiking boots because that's all you've got, but you want the best value? Or do you want to spend hundreds of pounds on a pair of hiking boots because you're going to go on lots of different hikes? Are you doing one hike for charity? It's understanding who you're talking to. Once you understand who you're talking to, then you can create that content, and you can end up not being so much in a cannibalized marketplace, because you go onto social media and it is cannibalized. It's just lots and lots of people trying to sell to you. Think about the value and then go that way. As Adrian says, I like the idea of that. Since lockdown, I've become gradually more and more disinterested with social media. I need to see people on a one-to-one business. Not sure I want to coach clients over the internet. And it's so difficult because we are probably heading into another stage of having to do that. So maybe it's a case of looking at the longer picture and what value could you give them now, Adrian, and then tie them into that idea of when we get out of lockdown, Adrian's the person I want to sit down and chat with on a one-to-one basis over a brew, grab a coffee, and actually go through three things properly and actually spend some money with Adrian to understand how much deeper he can go. So, for example, a lot of the information I give to everybody, very generic. It helps people as much as I possibly can do, giving as much value as I possibly can. But I can't give information for every single business. I can't help you if you're a mouse seller, a phone seller, and then a headphone seller. They're all completely different marketplaces, even though they're all in the technology industry. So those people need me to sit down and specifically talk to them on a one-to-one basis. And that's how you could look at it, Adrian. What generic value, what help can I give to give people as much help as I possibly can do for those people who don't have any money to spend? I want to help as many people as possible get creating content. And that's what my book's all about for like 99p. And that's what all these videos are all about. But if they want more specific help, and they can afford it, then they can come to me as a consultant or my agency to help them create content and so on and so forth. But that's not what this content is necessarily for. It's just to help people as best as I possibly can do. Hello to Ed, who's just joined us on Facebook. Thank you very much for tuning in. So yeah, I just want you to come out of this live broadcast today and basically just go, you know what? I kind of understand who my avatar is. I'm maybe going to niche down a little bit more on that. But once I understand who my avatar is, I need to get away from this idea of just shouting louder than everybody else, because I can't shout louder than everybody else. So maybe I don't need to be shouting. I just need to stop those people in their tracks. What can I do creatively to make that happen? Be it cinemagraphs, be it 3D GIFs, be it, I don't know, anything, whatever, videos, documentaries, images, whatever it might be that will make people go, oh, I want to have a look at that. That's what you want. That's what you want. So start thinking, what can you do creatively to stop people in their feeds? Social media is a little bit of a bugbear for a lot of people at the moment. People are getting tired of video. People are getting tired of all. So you just need to think, how can you stop people in their tracks? And a standard video like this might not stop people. The live version of it will. But maybe this bog standard talking to a camera video isn't the way to go for your branding, for your business. Maybe it is. because you are your brand and your business. You've got to think outside the box. Okay, hopefully that's helped a few people. I'm going to answer some questions, as always. If you have any questions you want answering, just stick them into the comments. I'll do my best to try and help you as I possibly can do today, as always. And if I can't answer your question today, I'll go away and find the answer and answer it tomorrow, because I'm not normally live on a Tuesday. I'm normally live on a Monday. But yesterday was my second in command, my mini boss's birthday. He was 2 years old, and the day just ran away with us. So yeah, I'm live today instead. Right, let's go to a couple of questions we got through. The other day, the Kimberley in Harrogate were asking, they're keen to get tips on building up the presence of a non-profit charity that they also work for, as well as obviously their own business. So the charity stuff is very interesting. And what I've suggested in the past is that you kind of look at what the successful charities are doing. And when I say successful charities, obviously being from a visual agency, I'm going to talk about video. But look at things like Red Nose Day, Children in Need. They all show the case studies behind what it is that they do. They want to help as many people within their niche charity sector as humanly possible. So they create content showing where their money goes and how it helps people. TV adverts for cancer charities right now. Everybody creates content that will hopefully portray why they do what they do, how they're successful most of the time at why they do what they do as well. Red Nose Day, for example, trying to eliminate malaria by providing cheap and simple mosquito nets to everybody in third world countries. Makes a huge difference. Imagine being the ones to say we had eliminated malaria. So that's what one of their aims was to try and do. So you need to think about that for your charity, whatever the non-profit charity might be. Again, think about the value, and whatever the charity might be, there will be case studies connected to it. And find people who are willing to sit down and talk about that case, be it on audio, so you've got a podcast, be it just a general interview, so you've got a blog, be it a general interview, so you can take snippets out and use it as content for imagery or whatever that might be. Sit down and just talk to those people who you've helped along the way as a charity. I don't know what the charity is, what they do, but that's what I would recommend, is create content that shows why you do what you do. So people are more willing to give money to something that they're emotionally connected to. You are an emotional person. People buy on emotions. People spend money on emotions. People give on emotion. And that's what obviously things like Red Nose Day and Children in Need play into, of course. But what you're trying to do is just say, look, we'd like to have your money, but we're not going to beg for it. But what we want to do is just show you what we've been able to do, what we're capable of doing with your help. Now, you can choose to help or you can choose not to. That's up to you, but we just still want to show you what we're capable of doing with a little bit of help. And that's what I would recommend as a charity. For any charity, is create that kind of content, be it, like I say, written, be it podcast, be it video, or preferably an amalgamation of all those things. Try and do all of it. But that's what I would say. So hopefully that helps you. The Kimberley Hotel in Harrogate. And that was their question right there. Keen on tips on building up the presence of a non-profit charity we also work for. Let's have a quick look. The guys on Facebook saying our live videos do great. In the last 30 days, they've been watched nearly 34,000 times. But when we repurpose those on videos on YouTube, they don't perform half as well. And that's understandable. Number one, YouTube really do love live content and will try and push that content out harder because you're using their platform for live content. The smaller content, it sits there and you might just not have the back end quite right. Maybe the thumbnail's not quite right and drawing people in. Maybe you're just simply not telling enough people about it. It all depends on a lot of different things. Whereas when you go live on a platform, the platform loves you using their live platform. So they push that content out to a big, wide audience, which is such a powerful thing. So hopefully, you'll go away from this and think a little bit more about maybe how you push that content and so on and so forth. Adrian talking about testimonials. They're not quite the same as a case study. They're not quite the same, but they're still powerful. The problem with a testimonial, if it's not on video, and I'm a victim of this myself, I don't know how many times you've gone to a website and you've seen a testimonial that says, Barry from Basingstoke says I'm amazing. And you sit there and you go, that's great. But does Barry really exist? What I would recommend to anybody, even right now, you can do this. If you've got a client and you're working with them, get them to record something on their phone. Now, preferably, it will be in landscape, but even if they're doing portrait, it's not the end of the world, and use that as a testimonial. There's no way anybody can get away from Barry in Basingstoke talking to a camera and actually saying those things. Don't get me wrong, yes, you could still falsify that, but there's less chance of somebody falsifying a video. So I would definitely recommend that, because sometimes people don't necessarily put the name of the business or what have you because they want to stay a little bit secret. So they kind of just put those bits and pieces out there. If somebody on a written testimonial is happy to say, I'm Barry from paintingwalls.com in Basingstoke, then it's a slightly different kettle of fish. But I still think video testimonials, which are so easy to get hold of, like I say, everybody's got a phone these days, and most people will be happy to just go, you know what, I've worked with Adrian and Adrian's great, thank you very much, bang, done. Obviously you want them to be slightly more in depth than that, but you know what I mean. So definitely get people to do videos on their phones for you if you can. Right, let's go back to the questions we've had through previously. Handcraft Tamsin asked the other day, I particularly struggle with knowing the right amount of use of hashtags on different social media platforms. There's a lot of conflicting information out there. So there's loads of conflicting information out there, and I'm probably going to give you some more conflicting information. It really depends on the platform. Definitely use hashtags, but it's all about research and sitting down and going, which hashtags should I be using? Should I be using big ones? Should I be using small ones? All that kind of thing. It's understanding how big your account is. And there's so many different angles to come at it from. I'm not going to dive too heavily into this with you. But what I would say is use hashtags. And if it's on Instagram, for example, you can use up to 30 hashtags. Maybe you don't need to use all 30, but I would definitely recommend using 20, 25. There's a lot of people out there who say, don't use hashtags at all. They've normally already got an audience, so they don't need to use hashtags. What I would say to you is use hashtags sensibly. Maybe use one or two nice big ones so that if you are a smaller account and you do happen to get a piece of content that trends, then you will drop into the feed on those larger hashtags. But use smaller ones, mid-sized ones, and much smaller ones so that the smaller ones help you get seen by smaller accounts. The thing is, with a smaller hashtag, when people go onto that hashtag, you've got more chance of being at the top. If there's millions of people using that hashtag, say hashtag smile, there'd be millions, probably billions of people using that hashtag on a regular basis. Unless you're really lucky, your content is never going to rise to the top of that page and get seen. So you're probably never going to get seen on it. But if you are hashtag smile Newbury, for example, there's probably a lot less people using that specific hashtag. But if there's still like 20,000 people using it, that's a hashtag that's still worth being seen on, isn't it? So you use that over and above hashtag smile. So find those smaller hashtags that you can like tie your content into that you've got a better chance of being seen on. Hopefully, I mean, hashtags is just such a massive subject matter, and that's just Instagram, and that's a really, really small segment of hashtags. It's just such a massive thing, but it's all about researching, looking at what you can do. What are you trying to achieve from that piece of content? Do you want it to go global? Or are you trying to reach a local audience? There's all sorts of things to look into. So yeah, if you want to have more of an in-depth chat about hashtags, it's definitely worth maybe us having a chat or something like that. But that's, like I said, that's just Instagram for one example. LinkedIn is very different. Facebook is different. TikTok is different because you've got less characters to play with. Twitter is the same. Snapchat. All these different platforms allow hashtags, and it's understanding the power of the hashtag. The other week, we found out on the live with Alan Spicer, if you use a particular hashtag shorts on YouTube within your title or within your description, then it gets picked up for something else. So are hashtags worth using in your video content as well when you're posting your video content and writing your description or writing your title? There's lots and lots of things to think about. So yeah, hopefully that will help just a little bit. It's such a vast subject to dive into. We'd probably be here all day if I started talking about everything, and nobody wants that. A dodgy northerner sat chatting to them for 10 hours. So we won't do that. But if you want some help, just give us a yell. What I would recommend for any platform is research, understand which hashtags you want to use, and then use those, but also sparingly use others as well. You don't want to be using the same hashtags over and over and over again. That's not good on your content. And the softwares, the channels, they don't like it at all. In fact, there's a very good chance you get shadow banned. And they say it doesn't exist, but it does. Your content gets posted out, but nobody gets to see it. Trust me, it exists. Anyway, right, I'm going to disappear. I'm going to say thank you very much for watching. As always, if you're brand new to this content, please do hit the subscribe button. Say hello next time I'm on live. I'll be here on tomorrow at 12 o'clock-ish. If you've ever got any questions, if you're watching on the replay or listening to the podcast, stick them to me on email, or you can put them into the comments. I'll do my best to answer them whenever they come in. But until next time, thank you so much for watching. It does amaze me that people still tune in and listen to this dodgy northerner giving them advice. But thank you so much. And until tomorrow at midday, in these weird times, and boy, are they getting weird again, please continue to stay safe and have a good one. Bye.